Hi, welcome. It has been a while. I'm sorry, I needed to take a little break from doing this, but I am back and I'm here to share with you the movies that I watched in April and May. So we're gonna start with movies that I rewatched in April and May, and then we'll go on to the statistics of each month, and then we will talk more in depth about the movies that I watched. Grab that popcorn, take a seat. This might be a long one. Movies that I rewatched: The Greatest Showman, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Hercules, Escape Room, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, This Is the End, and Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so now statistics. Let's start with April, obviously, because that comes before May. In April, I only watched 5 new movies, so not a whole lot. I feel like I'm falling behind on my goal for movies this year, so we're gonna try and catch up and watch like a bunch of movies. The most that I watched genre-wise was biography. I watched 2 biographies. I watched an action-adventure, I watched a rom-com, and I watched a comedy. The shortest movie that I watched was 89 minutes, and the longest was 133 minutes. So total, I watched around 579 minutes. Okay, I watched 3.5 stars, and then I watched 2 4-star movies. So that kind of averages to about 3.7 stars for the month. Not bad at all. So let's go on to the statistics for May. May was a lot better. I watched 9 movies. I watched 3 comedies, 2 musicals, 2 action adventures, 1 romance, and 1 rom-com. The shortest movie I watched was 93 minutes, and the longest movie that I watched was 128 minutes. So total, I watched 975 minutes of movies. Stars weren't too bad. The lowest that I have here is 2 stars, so I have 1 2-star. I have 1 2.5 stars, 3 3-stars, 1 4-star, 2 4.5 stars, and 1 5-star. And I was looking through the other movies that I've read this month. This is my first 5-star movie of the year. I don't know how I haven't given a movie 5 stars already. So this is definitely for sure like my favorite movie of the year so far. And I'm very surprised with what it is. So now let's go more in depth with these movies and actually like talk about them. So the first movie that I watched in April was Shazam. This was so good. I'm not big on like superhero movies, but I love Zachary Levi so much that I just like, I had to watch this one. And I'm glad I did. It was so fun, it was so funny, and it had a lot of heart to the movie as well. I feel like I talk about that a lot in these videos, how like movies have heart, but that's because that's like a big thing for me. I love when movies have a lot of like heartwarming and endearing things about it on top of everything else that they've got going on. Zachary Levi is amazing, as always. I really enjoyed like the backstory about the whole like foster home and all that stuff. I really enjoyed learning about that. I think that's what added the heart to the story. So that way it's not just an action-adventure story, it's also like a coming of age, and it's got some like stuff, like some emotional stuff going on to it that really ties you into it. Very enjoyable, very entertaining. The pacing was really good. I really loved the goofiness of it overall. So I really liked this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is The Best of Enemies. This is based off of a true story. It takes place, oh crap, in the 50s? Probably not the 50s. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. The 70s probably. Okay, and it's about the leader of the Ku Klux Klan and I guess like not the leader of the black people, but like a lot of people like look up to her, and she's been very outspoken about blacks' rights and all that stuff, and they end up having to like work together to help decide like school issues. It is a very fascinating story, so even though it was predictable, I was still totally on board with what was happening and what was being said and just the characters. Like I was so on board with just the movie as a whole, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen. And of course, like I still cried. I felt like the acting was totally spot on. Really good job with the actors. I'm really impressed with that. I do think, however, that like this movie has been done before. Like there's a lot of these types of movies out there right now, and I feel like this didn't bring anything new to that type of genre of movie. So even though it was good, it wasn't like spectacular or wow or amazing. but still enjoyed it. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched was Little. So this one was just like a funny concept as well that I feel like has been done before, and again, this didn't really bring anything new to that type of genre of movie, but it was still very fun and enjoyable. It follows a very like mean older woman who's like in charge of a company, and she wakes up one day and she is now a little kid, and it like teaches her to be humble and be nicer to people and that type of stuff. But I did find it funny. It's like very snappy comedy. But yeah, not all the jokes really landed with me, but most of them did. I think because sometimes it was just a little over the top at times. So I do think it like dragged a little bit at the end. I don't know, the ending just felt a little messy to me. Felt like it could have been cleaned up a little bit better, but I do think you left the theater with like a good message. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this movie, except for that. But I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched was The Perfect Date. This was the new Noah Centineo Netflix rom-com. Because I feel like Noah Centineo is just in rom-coms that are on Netflix. Which I totally get. He is great. I love him in Netflix rom-coms. He is just so charming, and with this one, very charming. Probably the only like part that I really liked, or at least it was like my favorite part, was just Noah Centineo being Noah Centineo. But in this one, we follow Noah Centineo. I don't know his character's name. He is just forever in my mind as Noah. But he is trying to get into a very good college, but he doesn't have enough money to do it, and his dad for some reason is not helping out. That part I didn't understand as to why his dad wasn't helping out. So he like creates this app to like help him raise money for college. So he basically is not like dating these women, he just like goes on these like fake dates. So if like a girl needs a fake date for an event, they'll like go to the app, hire him, pay him money to like go to this date with him, and like she gets to tell him, here's what you gotta do, here's the kind of person I want you to be. But along the way, he like ruins friendships and stuff, and then there's one of the girls that kind of starts forming a relationship with. It's a very messy, confusing plot, which was one of my big issues with it. It's also super cheesy. Like, they went over the top with the cheesiness, and it's a rom-com, so it is predictable. Not all rom-coms are predictable, I will say, but this one definitely followed, like, the formula to a T. I do think it was funny, and I thought a lot of the jokes were great, and I thought the two main actors did a really great job, like, landing jokes. I thought that was done very well. But I do think the rest of the movie and the rest of the characters weren't really fleshed out well. Like, I don't think they did a good job with Noah Centineo's dad. And also, Cami Mendez's character. I don't understand what was her deal. Like, I understand why she was there, but they didn't really, again, flesh out her character well enough. Like, I had no idea why Noah Centineo was, like, super into her. I had no idea why she was, like, even interested in Noah. I just couldn't understand her character and, like, the way she portrays her character. How, like, that really, I don't know. It just, it felt very messy with some of the characters and their development. So, like, I do think the plot and, like, the storyline I really like and I felt was interesting, but I don't think that the writers or the director did a very good job of portraying it. I think it was like fun in the moment, but ultimately just forgettable. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last movie that I watched in April was Breakthrough. If you don't know, I am a Christian, so I do not mind Christian, like, faith-based movies. If they're not for you, then don't watch it. But I like them, and so this one, every time I watched the trailer, I was bawling my eyes out. This is based off of a true story about a kid who broke through ice and was underwater for, like, I think they said like 15 minutes or something, and the doctors couldn't bring him back to life, and so the mom, like, prayed, and then all of a sudden a miracle happened and he was, like, breathing again, but he was still in a coma, and it was just kind of like the doctors don't think he's gonna make it, but the mom is like, no, I believe. I really enjoyed this one. This was a tearjerker for me. I also just love Topher Grace, especially Topher Grace. He played the pastor, but he was trying to play, like, a super cool guy and, like, trying to know the lingo of the kids. It was funny. And I was also, something I didn't expect with the movie that I really enjoyed the main character, Chrissy Metz, her character. I did not expect there to be a whole lot of like development with her character. Like she starts off super like judgmental. Like, she was a nice lady, but like super judgmental. And then along the way throughout the story, she learns to really like open up her heart and stop being so judgmental. So I really liked that. And I love how persistent Topher Grace's character was. And I thought it had a great cast who did really great performances. I know I gave examples with Topher and Chrissy, but like everyone did a fantastic job with this movie, acting-wise. It's super predictable. I feel like with this type of movie, you know what the ending is going to be, so you're not sitting there like worried. But it was still like fun to go on that journey of getting to that predictable ending. The characters sometimes annoyed me. Like, they made decisions that just really aggravated me, or they like did things that I was just like, oh my god, I hate you right now. Overall, I enjoyed it, but it's not one that I'm ever really gonna like watch again. But I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now on to May, where I watched 9 movies. We got a lot. First, we're gonna talk about 2 movies at the same time. We're gonna talk about Teen Beach Movie and Teen Beach 2. I believe that these both are Disney Channel movies, and they follow these 2 people, which are boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, I love that they start off the movie as boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, we don't see like 2 people coming together and starting a relationship. Like, we start off and it's like they're in a relationship. I liked that a lot. That's something completely different from Disney Channel. And they find themselves trapped in a 50s beach movie that's based off of West Side Story. It's called Beachside Story or something like that. And then of course Teen Beach 2, the characters from the movie get stuck in the real world. Anyway, okay, so let me start off with Teen Beach Movie. I loved the concept. Loved the concept so much. It sounds hysterical, and it was hysterical to watch. I do think the opening was totally lame. It just looked so fake. I feel like they could have done so much better with that. The acting was awful and over the top, and I understand that the characters in the movie, like, they were fine to be over the top, but I feel like Ross Lynch and Maya Mitchell, I feel like their acting was over the top. They're supposed to be the real people that are not supposed to be over the top, and I just felt like they were a bit over the top. But the people being the movie characters, I totally get why they were over the top, and that was totally fine. Like, they were basically being like the caricatures of someone in a 50s movie. I loved the songs. They were super catchy, and the choreography was absolutely amazing. I could not take my eyes off the screen whenever there was a dance number. And that goes for Teen Beach 2 as well. Like, songs and choreography, amazing. I really enjoyed the parts where we were in the 50s movie. Actually, was it 50s or 60s? I can't tell now. I want to say 50s, but now I'm thinking 60s. I really liked the parts of the movie when we were in the movie rather than in the real world part of the story. And I also just didn't like the fact that they kept repeating songs. I feel like Disney Channel has been doing that a lot lately. They just have like some songs and they just keep repeating those songs over and over again in the same movie. And I want something new and something different each time they sing. And Teen Beach 2 was worse than Teen Beach Movie. I did enjoy Teen Beach Movie even though it wasn't the greatest, but Teen Beach 2 was so bad because the timeline was so confusing. This one too also took a lot longer to get to the main plot. I feel like we focused way too much on maybe a little bit of world building, but like I felt like we spent way too much time like trying to get to know the characters that we already know. But I do think that the characters were so much more like developed in the second one, and they felt more three-dimensional, because even like the characters from the movie, when they come to the real world, they kind of learn a lot more than they already know. I don't know the actress's name, but when she's the like main character in the movie, not the Teen Beach 2 movie, but like the movie that takes place in this world, in this movie. God, this is so confusing. I thought she did a really great job in Teen Beach 2, with her coming to the real world and wanting to stay in the real world and not go back to the movie. I felt like her development through that whole thought process was really good. As much as I did love the choreography and like the dance numbers, they made no sense in the real world. Like, I understood why the dance numbers were happening in the first movie because it was in taking place in a movie that has musical numbers in that movie. But when you take the movie characters and put them in the real world, I can understand maybe those two characters are just the characters from the movie doing dance numbers in the real world, but like, why is everyone in the real world joining them in a dance number? Like, that didn't make sense to me. Teen Beach Movie I gave 3 stars, and Teen Beach 2 I gave 2 stars. The next movie I watched is Long Shot. This was just as I expected, super funny, amazing rom-com. We follow a guy who is like super, not like super dorky, but like he is dorky and just kind of like nothing at all of what a Secretary of State is supposed to be dating. But the Secretary of State was this guy's babysitter like way back in the day, and so this guy had like a huge crush on his babysitter. And they end up reconnecting and re-meeting, and he starts to work for her as a writer, and through that they start falling in love. But no one is for their relationship. Like, no one wants it to happen, because she is running for president, and they can't have that press and publicity on her. But I absolutely loved and adored this movie. I don't know what it is about Seth Rogen, but Seth Rogen can be in anything, and I will absolutely love him. I find his humor so funny, and I think in this one his humor was toned down from what he normally does, but it was still super funny, and absolutely loved it. And Charlize Theron did a fantastic job as well. I really like the two main characters, and they surprisingly did have chemistry. I was not expecting the chemistry to be there, but it was. And there were so many things happening in the story that kept me engaged and and I just wanted to like keep watching. I thought the supporting characters were done well as well. I enjoyed this one. I'm giving it 4.5 stars though. I don't know why I'm not giving it 5 stars. I think it's just, it wasn't like an all-time favorite, and I feel like a 5-star needs to be an all-time favorite, but I don't know what it was about this one that didn't quite make an all-time favorite, but I still really enjoyed it, so hence the 4.5 stars. The next movie I'm going to talk about is The Last Summer, which was a Netflix movie. And for some reason, it's listed as a comedy, but I don't understand why it's a comedy. I don't see it as a comedy. I was not a huge fan of this movie. It's very average acting. I also just felt like it was a story about nothing. Like, it was just kind of like a slice of life type of movie, but like nothing was really happening. Like, things were happening, but just like it felt like nothing, and nothing that I was interested in. The biggest issue I think I had with this movie was just like, I can't believe that these kids are high school kids. Not because they don't look high school, like I guess they kind of look high school, even though I totally know they're in their late 20s. But like, the characters themselves, I'm just like, they're not high school kids. We follow a bunch of like high school kids, they just graduated and it's their last summer before they go off to college. Things happen, romances happen, drama happens, coming of age things happen, but I just don't understand how these kids are high school kids. One of them owns a business that seems to be doing very well. It's like an asphalt company, and he like does driveways, and I'm like, you're a high school kid. How do you have an established business? One of them is dating a baseball player. How? Two of them pretend to be business guys in a bar, fooling all the business guys that are at this bar, making them think that they work at the business that they work at. That didn't seem realistic to me either. One of them was a personal assistant. I'm sorry, but like, these are not high school student things. There's like more to that, but those are just like a few of the examples that I can really remember. I also have no idea what was up with the character Mason. Like, they also just didn't really complete his character. Like, we kind of see him here and there, but like, he literally had no point to the movie. Like, he could have been taken out and the movie would have still stayed exactly the same. Like, I don't understand why Mason was there. They like never finished his character. They never completed him. It was just like nothing. Anyway, so I had a lot of issues with this movie. It was not one I liked, but it was like average. It was okay. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next movie I'm going to talk about is The Hustle. I was expecting at least like an average movie. What I got was a below average movie. I'm convinced that Anne Hathaway should never play characters like this because she tries so hard to play characters like this. It's such a fake accent and she just does not come across as posh to me. I can't see it. There was only one scene where I thought her acting was good, and that was when she was like yelling and shouting and like going crazy and being super angry. That was like the only time I actually saw her acting be good in this movie. Don't get me wrong, I like Anne Hathaway. I do. I just think when she tries to play these type of characters, because this character kind of reminded me of her character in Ocean's 8, she should just stop playing this type of character. Let's go back to Princess Diaries, Love and Other Drugs, that type of character. This is a movie about con artists being con artists, essentially. I did not see the twist happening, so I like that I didn't see the twist happening, but I still couldn't believe the twist. I couldn't believe that that character was portraying a totally different character. I don't know how to explain it without giving it away, but this movie was just not good. Most of the jokes did not land at all. It was just not as funny as I was hoping it would be. I was just bored through most of it, honestly. So this was like not a favorite of mine at all. I gave it 2.5 stars. Next is The Sun Is Also a Star. I did read this book in the month of May, and I loved the book. The movie was okay. In this movie, we follow two people, two teens. One of them is from Jamaica and in America illegally, and the government has found out, and so they are leaving the next day, which, by the way, this movie takes place all within one day. And so this teenager, she's like walking around New York trying to like she's scheduling meetings with lawyers and stuff, trying to just at least pause it or like make sure they don't leave at least tomorrow, but trying to find ways that she could stay. And then the guy, he has like an interview with an alumni of a college that he does not want to go to, but his parents are pressuring him to go to this college and become this person that he does not want to be because he wants to do something else. And he is from very like a strict Korean family. So these like two main people, they meet randomly because he saves her. She almost got hit by a car, so like he saves her, and then they end up spending like the whole day together and forming this romance. But ultimately I was just expecting more from this movie. I think because I loved the book so much that I don't know, I don't want to say I had high expectations for the movie, but in a sense I did. So I guess I was just expecting more. There were changes from the book to the movie, and I don't know, I didn't mind the changes. Like, the changes were fine. I felt like the changes didn't really add anything to the movie, but I also don't think it took too much away. I felt like the film was like shot a little too artsy for me. Like it felt like more like an art film than an actual like movie in a movie theater. I don't know how better to explain that, but essentially there was just a lot of like interesting shots of like the background or like what they're eating or what they're looking at, and it was just like a lot of like artsy shots, so that I was just like, this wasn't needed for the movie. It was also super slow paced. I do like the acting though, and I liked the actors. I thought they did a really great job. There was also tons of chemistry between them. It was just okay. I like the book better. I highly recommend reading the book over watching the movie. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I watched Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I have never played Pokemon in my entire life. I don't know, I'm just not like a Pokemon person, but the movie looked super funny and super cute, and I love Ryan Reynolds, so I went to go see it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like not knowing the Pokemon world and not, like, never really being immersed in that world, I probably missed a bunch of stuff, and I also don't know how accurate it was to the Pokemon world, so I can't comment on any of that stuff. But I had a fun time watching this movie. We follow a kid who didn't really have like a really great relationship with his dad, and he finds out that his dad has died, and so he's going to the apartment to just kind of like pack up some things and just take care of it. But he runs into Pikachu, who is trying to solve what happened to his dad, because Pikachu does not think that his dad died. And so it just kind of takes them on this adventure and crime-solving type thing. It was very funny, so I was surprised with that. I really enjoyed the story. and the journey that they go on and the adventure, like, it was super fun and enjoyable to watch. And I really enjoyed the twist. I did not see the twist coming, although I saw, like, most people saw the twist coming, but I didn't. Some things that I wasn't too keen on with the movie, it did feel very long, but ultimately I didn't mind too much because I was having fun with it, but it could have just been a little shorter. The thing I think that bugged me the most was, like, the main characters, they looked like they were in high school, but yet I don't think they were supposed to be high school because, like, the one, he was an insurance guy, and the other, she was, like, a journalist, and I was like, how do these kids have jobs? Like, I feel like they look high school, and yet they're not high school because they actually have, like, jobs, and they're looking for promotions, and anyway, that just kind of, like, threw me so off. But overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I want to talk about is Booksmart. This was super funny. It's a comedy about these 2 kids in high school. They're just graduating. I watched a lot of, like, just graduating high school movies. But they're just graduated high school. They got into really great schools. Harvard, Yale, I think is what they were, or whatever. They had, like, no social part of their life because they were too focused on trying to get into these colleges. They find out that these kids that, like, partied all the time still got into the same colleges that they got into. And so they're a little, like, pissed about it. So they're like, you know what? We're gonna party tonight. The night before graduation, we are going to party hardcore. So it sends them on this, like, wild adventure of a night. It's really funny and it's fun. I feel like I say that about every movie that I watched this month, but I really did enjoy a lot of these movies. I had so much fun watching them. But the comedy was, like, super smart comedy and super witty. And I was surprised with, like, the emotions that I went on with this story. There were some emotions I felt that I was not expecting to feel with this movie. And I think that they really captured the awkwardness of high school, especially, like, a person that's an outsider in high school. I do think a lot of the characters were way over the top and very, like, cliche to who their character is. So I feel like that was just, like, the one issue I had with the movie. But overall, very good. The cast was great, amazing writing, the pacing was great, it was shot very well. I really enjoyed this movie overall. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay guys, we're now into the last movie. This is my favorite movie of the year. And I'm so surprised that this movie is my favorite movie of the year so far. But I've been telling everybody I know about this movie and that they should go see it because I've seen it in the theaters 3 times already. And that is Aladdin. I was not expecting much because the last couple of, like, live action Disney remakes have just been kind of like meh. They've been, like, okay, like, I've enjoyed them, but they were, like, nothing special. And then came Aladdin. The trailers do not do this movie justice. The trailers looked horrible. I really loved the modern take on this movie and the modern take on the songs and the choreography. The songs are still, like, the songs from the original, but there was, like, something in, like, the music that made it a little bit more modern for our time. And it just kind of, like, added a little something special to the movie, I think. I really also enjoyed that they fixed a lot of, like, plot holes from the original cartoon Aladdin. Oh, I also have to obviously talk about the song Speechless, Jasmine's song. It's a new song for the live action, and it is so good. I have been listening to it on loop, on repeat, for the past, like, 3 weeks. I am maybe not 3 weeks, like 2 weeks. I am obsessed with that song. It is so good. Whoever wrote that song needs to just write every single song in the world because it's so good. I was not expecting much from Will Smith, but he did a fantastic job with Genie. I really like that he kept the essence of Genie and, like, the sassiness of Genie, but really did make it his own. Aladdin and Jasmine were great as well. Aladdin does a lot of parkour in the movie that just kind of makes my heart go thumpity thump thump thump. was so good. The main issue that a lot of people had with the movie was Jafar. They did not find him like scary enough. But to be honest, I disagree 100%. I feel like the people who don't find Jafar terrifying are the people who are like Jafar. And I think another reason why some people didn't find him terrifying was because he wasn't over the top terrifying. He was like a real human being. Like Jafar, like that person actually exists in the real world. Like they exist. Which is why I think that the people who don't find Jafar terrifying are the people that are exactly like Jafar. And so they don't see how it's terrifying. But yeah, no, I thought Jafar was fantastic and was so scary. And surprisingly, it was so funny. The best scene in the whole movie, if you've seen the scene, you'll know what I mean. If you've watched the movie, you'll know what I mean. But it's the jam scene. 100% loved this movie. I highly recommend go seeing it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. What a surprise. And that is it for this video where I talked about my movies. Please also go check out the books that I read in April and May, as well as just like my overall life wrap up for April and May. And then hopefully I will see you guys with more videos soon.